Farmer John with Sustainable Seed Company. Today we want to talk to you about buckwheat. Buckwheat is such an easy crop to grow. It literally flowers in about 30-40 days. Probably, about another 2 months after that, you get this wonderful grain. Buckwheat is really high in a substance called rutin, which is really good for you. You can actually eat the leaves on some buckwheat, in moderation, of course, everything in moderation. But this is your average buckwheat, and we sell a bunch of different varieties online. Obviously, you'll see that this has hulls on it. So we're not going to focus on that today because dehuling buckwheat can be a whole video in itself. But they basically made, the Country Living Mill has a process, if you look that up online, on how to get hulls off of buckwheat with their mill. There used to be an attachment for the Corona, but that's no longer made. So you want to get the hulls off your buckwheat, and when you do, it'll look something like this. And this has already been dehulled, and in this case actually it's been roasted, just lightly roasted. You can see some of the ones that are still green, they haven't been roasted as much. And what that does is it gets all the moisture out, gives it a nice rich nutty flavor, and it's easier to grind. So what we're going to do today is show you how to make buckwheat pancakes, which is pretty easy. And the first step is obviously harvesting your buckwheat out of the field, dehulling it, which is breaking the hulls off. And I did want to point that out real quick. When you do break the hulls, you basically use screens, and these are different types of screens with a device like this. You can find these at garden stores. And they come with different size screens, and you can sift your buckwheat through that. So here you'll see what's called a Corona mill. It's a pretty standard, typical mill. They're sold all over the world, usually about $35-40. And the attachment on here is not the typical steel attachment. This has been replaced with a stone. These are two grinding stones. It'll give us a finer flour. So here you see our roasted buckwheat, and I'm loading the hopper with it. And I'm not going to load it too far. Obviously this hopper will take a bunch more, but I want to make sure that everything's going okay before I get it really filled up. So all you're going to do is simply turn the handle here, which is real simple, and the two stones will literally grind those buckwheat together, and it produces this really fine flour that you see coming out here. Now the stones can be adjusted with this little knob here that can make a finer flour or a coarser flour, and of course it's harder to turn. You can see it comes to a stop when I put it in too much. Right about there is where I want it. Now I can really get rid of it. So here we've ground down our buckwheat, and you can see we have this great powder, really nice flour, but it's still got a few bigger chunks in it. So what we want to do is take this, and we can run it through just a regular household or kitchen sieve. If you have a smaller sieve, that's even better, but just for ease and simplicity, we're just going to use what you'd find in your kitchen. So you're just sifting it, just like you would sift flour back in the old days. A flour sifter would also work just as well. And what we're trying to do is get some of the coarser grains out of here. What we want is our buckwheat pancakes to be light and fluffy and not coarse. So we want to get some of this coarse material out of here. We want to talk about self-sufficiency. Here is a way for those in the South, in the southern parts of the United States, to produce a grain where you normally wouldn't be able to produce wheat. Most of those places you'll be able to produce barley, but wheat is a really hard commodity to grow down south. It's just too hot. It's not dry enough. Buckwheat loves heat, not too much heat, so it's a perfect crop for early spring or fall planting. The harvest from it is just, it's an amazing, wonderful harvest.